Since you refuse to do this the easy way, I guess we'll have to do it the hard way. Jake's breath was hot against her ear as he forced her wrists against the side of the car. And if you ever want to see your kids again, he muttered, you're going to do exactly what I say. For a moment, Claire didn't move. Not because she was scared, because she'd been here before. Long before the Marine Corps. Long before she learned to fight back. That old, buried darkness didn't paralyze her. It focused her. Just a few hours earlier, she'd been finishing a brutal night shift at the hospital. It was almost dawn. The sky still dark, streets nearly empty. She'd packed up some snacks and small treats for her two kids, ready to surprise them when they woke up. All she wanted was to get home, take off her scrubs, and breathe. Claire Brown had once worn a different uniform. 6 years in the U.S. Marine Corps had shaped her into someone most people should think twice about threatening, but deployments kept her far from her children more than they should have. So she left the force to raise them herself and used her training, discipline, and heart to become a nurse instead. She never advertised her past. She didn't need to. As she turned into her neighborhood that morning, silence wrapped the street. No cars passing by, no one walking dogs, no kids at bus stops yet. Then flashing lights lit up behind her, a police cruiser. She calmly pulled over to the curb and put the car in park, hands on the wheel. Steady breaths. When Officer Jake Galloway stepped out, she immediately knew this wasn't a traffic stop. From the moment she moved in, he'd treated her like a target. First came the forced smiles, then the comments, then the catcalling. When she ignored him, his entitlement only swelled. He thought being a single mother made her easy. He never bothered to ask who she really was. He approached her window, not bothering to ask for license or registration. Out kind of early, aren't you? He said, eyes scanning her car interior instead of her paperwork. I just finished my night shift, she said evenly. I'm heading home to my kids. Before saying another word, he glanced up and looked around the street, checking to see if anyone was outside or watching. No witnesses, no cameras, no traffic. That's when his smirk formed. Step out of the vehicle, he said. She tried reason first, calm, tired, firm. Jake, is any of this necessary? My kids are waiting for me, and I've been up all night. His expression dropped into something harder. Get out, now. She stepped out slowly, hands visible, still controlled. The air was cold, the streetlight humming above them, and then he grabbed her wrists and shoved his body against hers. Since you refuse to do this the easy way, I guess we'll have to do it the hard way, he whispered. Then he leaned in, voice lower, uglier. And if you ever want to see your kids again, you're going to do exactly what I say. Before we go any further, this is Voices Unchained. If stories like this need to be heard louder, hit that subscribe and drop your city in the comments so we know how far these voices travel. Jake thought she was helpless, exhausted, cornered. He had no idea who he was touching. In one swift, practiced move, Claire rotated her wrist out from his grip, broke free with a clean escape technique she'd learned years ago, and drove her elbow into his ribs. The impact made him grunt and stumble. She pivoted, hooked his leg, and swept him hard onto the asphalt. He tried to reach for his belt or radio, but she already had her knee between his shoulder blades. With precise pressure and perfect balance, she pinned him easily. One hand freed his cuffs from his own belt, the metallic click echoing as she locked his wrists behind his back. He struggled. It didn't matter. The scuffle and the echo of his fall drew attention. Lights flicked on in nearby houses. A few neighbors stepped outside, confused, then stunned, at the sight of Officer Galloway face down on the pavement. Still kneeling on him, Claire pulled out her phone and made 2 short calls to friends still serving in nearby units. She didn't bother explaining. She just gave the address and said, "You need to get here, now." Within minutes, squad cars approached, lights on but sirens off. Officers stepped out, took one look at the scene, and didn't question her restraint. They knew her. They knew her record. They knew she wouldn't have acted without cause. Jake was hauled off in the same cruiser he arrived in, wrists cuffed behind his back. His face was red with rage and humiliation, but he said nothing. By midday, word reached the department, the media unit, and internal affairs. And when Claire's name surfaced in connection to the incident, something else happened. Other women started coming forward. Complaints, rumors, and buried reports gained oxygen for the first time. Stories that had gone ignored were now impossible to hide. Jake wasn't suspended for long. He was fired, stripped of badge, title, weapon, and backing. The arrogance he wore like armor fell apart overnight. The neighbors who once only saw a quiet single mom now saw the full picture: a former Marine, a survivor, a protector, and a woman who was done being threatened. Never mistake silence for weakness. Some people walk away from battlefields and still win new ones in the dark before dawn. If Claire's story hit you in the chest, don't disappear quietly. Tap subscribe and tell us where you're watching from so these stories reach everywhere they need to be heard.